that's the wrong one. All right, there we are. And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
And together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
Well, not only that, did you know we founded Codename too?
News to me. Anyway, we're going to be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Because when we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
It seems every now and then we get a chance to show an example of that.
Yeah, like last week.
Yep.
So today is our 100.
Not last, because
today.
Yeah.
Well, last week would have been, but today is our 120th episode.
Okay. Well, what's fun and unique about 120?
Well, it's probably not the number of questions we're going to be able to answer in the next hour.
Okay. Is it the frame rate you can get in Idle Champions?
Oh, not without like a really powerful computer.
Is it Prime?
I'm not going to dignify that with a response.
Oh, I'm out of ideas, sorry.
Wait, I've got it.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
It's the number of Dev Insights episodes we've done, including this one.
All right, okay, we've come full circle, and we got nowhere. Absolutely nowhere.
Anyway, today we are here to answer development and design questions about Idle Champions and do very bad comedy.
Oh, okay.
Mission accomplished.
If you don't ask any questions, however, you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man presentation of the user manual for your dishwasher.
Yep.
Really?
I don't actually
really
have
out of
it,
ideas?
I don't actually have it with me today though, so I'd be doing it from memory.
So like step 1, put the dishes in. Step 2, put the detergent in. Step 3, turn it on. Like, this isn't that difficult.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, did you get clean dishes? Like, that sounds thrilling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope this is the week players choose to not ask questions. I really do.
I hope it's not.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, as always, we have pulled forward some questions from the previous week's episode that we didn't get to, and we will answer some of those while we're waiting for new questions to come in. Yeah. I would typically also say that I had stuff to flag by the dev team to give enough status update on, but I do not have a status update. I know, this is shameful. It's like the 3rd week in a row.
No, last show there was a whole bunch. I deleted a whole bunch from here. Yeah.
Of items that we had for status updates.
Yeah. Last.
Oh, that's right.
Last
We
week
did
had
have
like
some.
7.
I did bring some. You're right. I was going to get some from Peter today, but they had an extremely long status meeting that ran right into this. In fact, as far as I know, they're still in that status meeting. So next week. I'll have items next week. But
Great.
let's instead... okay, Lauren is saying there's interference coming through the mics.
Yes.
Are the players...
Mars is also saying that there's a high-pitched electronic whine. We've just replaced the batteries in these things, so...
All right. Well, let's see. If I mute this, let's see if it goes away.
Did it go away? Is it just Dave?
All right. We're going to turn that back on. Now you turn yours off.
Okay, bye, folks.
All right. And did it go away now?
Well, see, here's the problem with this. I don't know in the chat
was a
what
delay.
they're saying yes to.
It went away with the first one. Okay.
Well, you're going to...
I'll swap out my mic.
But then we're just going to have to... Okay, anyway, let's answer some questions from previous shows while we're here. While Dave replaces his mic pack. So the first question here from last week's show is from Niskix, who asked, hashtag more pirate skins so we can support the game even more. And I included this question here because I did push for some pirate skins in some upcoming content. So hopefully, assuming they take my suggestion, there will be more pirate skins in the game this year.
All right. I've switched to my mic. Do we still have a buzz? Wait for it. Wait for it. No buzz. All right,
Okay.
perfect. We will
Okay.
carry on from there.
Yeah, we're just going to
No, please. Those are expensive.
put it up here where no one can see it. There we go.
Okay.
Oops, it fell off the table. Oh, well. It wasn't working anyway. Anyway.
Okay.
Let's move on to the next question here. This one was from Randram. And Ramram said last week, speaking of promotional content, any timeline on when Hammerman can get that wild offer flag to stop showing up as a free skin we wwere promised. So I did talk to the team about this yesterday, I think, and there are a bunch of skins in there that we have. We've prepared the flags for them, but I think we were just waiting on getting the graphics for them and then hooking those in for a variety of additional sources that are not currently listed. So ones that are promotion exclusive, ones that are season exclusive, ones that are emergence exclusive. We'll have flags for those so that they won't count towards skins you can get for free right now. And that way you'll be able to 100% that without having to have participated in a Kickstarter, I think, is where Hammerman initially came from. So, yeah. Oh no, the buzz is back.
No, they say it's whenever I move the mouse.
Oh, well, don't move your mouse then.
Well, how am I supposed to read the document?
How is that mouse causing interference? That,
I mean,
like, that's
is it
not
this?
even. It's not even hooked up to. That's weird.
To use the touchpad.
It's like these battery packs are hooked up to a computer way over there. Whatever.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Hopefully that's gone away.
Let's see here.
We're off to a good start. It's fine.
Let's see.
Just don't put the mic back too close to the mouse cable. Yeah, I moved it over here. That's close to your mouse.
Yeah, what are you doing, man? Okay. Well, we can answer some questions.
All right, let's start. The first question from today is from oh God, this is difficult. Zahadrakas 1. Oh, there are multiple of them. And the question is, wouldn't it be better for event DLC boons to last 3 weeks from the date of the purchase rather than just the remaining duration of the event? There is no incentive to purchase an event DLC in week 2 or 3. I mean, I assume other than the content you get in the DLC.
It's an interesting question. I mean, I think there is. I mean, there does seem to be a reason to buy them. Like, you get the boon, and then you can use the boon to try and finish off the last couple, tier 4 variants that you were doing, or tier 3, or whatever level you're kind of at.
I mean, it does seem you're getting more bang for your buck, though.
You're definitely getting more bang for your buck if you do it a little bit earlier. At least you're getting through stuff earlier. So, I mean, I'd have to think about exactly how we would want this type of thing to work, whether we would want to have it. Because outside of the event, there's not really... The funny thing we kind of have done with Events 2.0 is we've taken the hardest content in the game, or some of the hardest content in the game, and we've put it in the events. And so outside of events, if you're going to do like regular variants and whatnot, they actually, a large percentage of them end up being easier than like the tier 4 variants in events. So having boons active outside of the event, I'm not sure. But we'll have to look into that and think about whether there's some ways we can make that a little bit nicer for you guys. Events 2.0 is still very new. This is only our second one we've run. We're kind of running this one the same as the last one without too many tweaks, just to get a feel for whether the numbers we saw from the first one were real or they were just people being very excited about the first one. And so I think we'll start to make kind of tweaks to Events 2.0, adjustments, improvements, etc., as we move into the 3rd, 4th, and 5th ones in the next couple of months.
Okay, just reading through those. Next question here is from Foolish Genius 89. In Penelope's Spotlight, it looked like her slot 3 and slot 4 items were changing to buff Chewinga Mask generally, like Zorbu having 2 items for the same buff now, but they still buff each half individually. Was this a mistake, or was it a miscommunication?
I think it was a miscommunication. I'm not sure what the spotlight showed. I'd have to go double check that. But it seems like it might have been just an issue with the spotlight, because we never intended to change them, because one of them is basically a healing item and one of them is a support item. So I don't think we would want them to both be buffing both parts of it. It was very intentional that each one of those kind of buffed a different half of the Chewinga Mask. So yeah, it sounds like The spotlight just showed cards with no specific thing, just Chewingo Mask. Yeah, that sounds like a miscommunication in the, or I mean, both. So I'll take a look at that. I'll highlight that, and we'll get that blog fixed up.
All right. Next question. This is from Dice42. Are we expecting the Greengrass champions to find new homes this year, or is this our last chance to snag any of the set of champions until the year 2 of events 2.0 in 2025? Outside of any potential Narak reworks, of course.
So outside of that last bit of that question, yes, we are not going to be putting the Greengrass champions into what will eventually be their normal events this year. So this event is your last chance to grab them until we circle around in 2025. In 2025, they will be distributed to a bunch of different events. I think they're actually, because of the way the event structure works out, I think there's actually like 4 or 5 events that they're going to get distributed between, just to keep things even between events and have about 9 or 10 champions that permanently live in each event. So yeah, if you want to grab any of this set of champions in the event, you've got your base or your 3 or 4 flex slots to do that in, and I encourage you to grab the ones you really like and gear them up now.
Okay. Next question. This is from Ranram. Any more considerations given to a Lego dismantle for pigments, so we're not stuck with 30 plus on champs we moved on from as new come out, while lacking on the new main team being punished for engaging with releases? Justin was considering it last time, or emergence pigment dismantles, as some have suggested separately. I'm fine adding to Legos, though.
Yeah, I have been thinking about that. Yeah, it's an interesting kind of thing. After sort of mid-March, I guess, after Events 2.0 came out, I started looking at kind of our design timelines for the next 6 to 12 months or so. And one of the things on there is legendary, sort of how legendaries work. I'd really like to be able to get away from needing to have legendary dismantle events, which means if we attach pigment dismantle events to them and then we eventually get rid of them, we'd have to find another new home for pigment dismantles. So I think we need to find a way to make these systems work that is not that doesn't require this kind of idea of dismantling or moving them around or things like that, because it really ends up being more work for you guys to try and keep them on places where they'll be more universally useful, and more work for us to try and find ways to support that. So I think there's some work we need to do on both legendaries and pigments to just make them work a little bit more friendlyishly.
Okay. Let's see. Next question. This is from Niscus.
We already answered this one
you did?
in last week's questions.
Oh, but it's been asked again.
Well, they asked it before I got around to last week's questions.
Well, fair enough.
Niscus,
Yep.
Flex, yes.
Pirate skins.
More pirate skins, yeah.
Okay.
I asked for them in today's kickoff.
I do recall hearing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. This is from Rough Rider 1995. For people who purchased / invested in Strongheart as a season champ, when will we get a full dismantle after his changes?
So we're not planning on doing a full dismantle for Strongheart. That's basically the answer. There wasn't too much. The only thing that really affected his season stuff was his was the 1 feat, and we kind of hummed and hawed about that 1 feat. But we think the change we made to it made it pretty decent. So we're not planning on doing a full dismantle for Strongheart.
Okay.
Even if we did a full dismantle, it wouldn't affect his feat anyway. So, next question here is from Garwar. They ask, ETA on adding the toggle to event boons. Lots of us would like to support the game, but won't because it adds potions effects we don't want to have. assumedly the fire breath potions.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the option to toggle on and off individual event boons, which I know Alex was working on the UI for that yesterday.
Yes, I know it's being worked on.
He asked for some input on it, and so most of that is actually it's nearly complete. So I think whatever the next build is, it's likely to have that in it. If not, it'll be the
guarantee.
I said
next
likely.
Build.
Next build likely.
Next build will definitely likely have it.
Yes. So very shortly.
Yeah.
It's I didn't get a final update on that yesterday, but it was a small enough change that I'm confident at this point that it's probably done on Alex's branch. So
yeah.
So very soon.
Excellent.
Okay.
Do you have any idea what this next question is about?
No.
Me neither.
I didn't understand that question.
All right, let's move on to the next
Okay,
one.
next question is from Garwar. Does the healing pigment double temp HP shields as well, since those are classified under the healing role?
That is a good question. I actually am not sure. I'm going to have to look into this for you and get back to you next episode. I think my intention would be that it would, because they are essentially a form of healing. But I would need to double check that it actually does. There's a follow-up to the previous question from Garwar about the event boon toggle. OG17 is asking if it's boon only or also for event buffs. I believe it is only for event boons and not for individual champion buffs.
It is only for the boons. The individual champion buffs are also getting sort of an update on how they're displayed, just to make sure that it's clear that they are only active while you have a champion in the formation, are not something you can turn on or off on individual champions.
Yeah. You can turn them on and off by having that champion in your formation or not. So, yes. Yeah, the toggle is just for the event boons that you get for supporting the game with DLC purchases.
Okay. Well, they're asking the question that we weren't clear on was from Snomi CA, asking about gold fragments or gold core, which neither of us really understood.
Gold fragments or a gold core? I mean, I assume gold core would be like a gold Modron core, but I don't know what the gold fragments part of that is. So, yeah.
If they want to provide additional details, we can follow up.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next question here is...
Oh, he says pigments, of course, not fragments.
Oh, gold find pigments. Oh, and they copied the name wrong, too. Insomni. That makes more sense. Have we ever considered doing gold pigments, so gold find pigments or a gold Modron core? That's a good question. So... for pigments, I think we very quickly focused in on having 4 pigments because we found like the perfect D&D magic item, the like Tasha's Lost Pigments or something like that.
Yes.
I don't remember if that's the exact name. It's probably something else.
And we only have so much space on the card to put
only so much card in the space, but yes, there were only 4 of those. Nulzor's marvelous pigments. Yes, those are the ones. So there were four specific ones and we chose healing, tanking, support, and DPS for those rather than do gold find or speed or anything like that. Potentially we could break out and do our own pigments in the future. I think there's probably room on the card if we squish things around a little bit.
Always with the squishing of things.
I love to squish things.
We'll just make them scroll up and down slowly, right?
Make the pigments slow up and down.
No.
Oh my God. Let's just double down on bad design.
Oof.
It
hurts me.
As far as a gold Modron core, I could see doing something like that in the future. Probably have to think a little bit more about where some new Modron cores would come from.
We still haven't put that last core node in.
They haven't asked about that in weeks, man. What are you doing?
They last week. Someone totally asked last week.
They mention it. They don't ask anymore. All right. Next question here is from Garwar, who says, "While we all appreciate that you added columns to the event buff tooltip at the top right, Those of us that completed Tier 4 on all the prior event champions, 6, can't see all the buffs as they don't fit on the screen at some resolutions, 1600 by 900 in their case. Any possible ideas for a way to fix this? I'd love to see my buffs.
Yes. So that is also underway. And by underway, I mean it's complete and on Alex's branch. It'll be going out with the same build that the toggling on and off of the boons goes out with. And we did actually change that to condense each of the buffs down to each individual champion, whether they're on or off, an account of how many that you have unlocked, and then hovering over them provides a sub-hover with the details of the buff. So you can actually see all of them that are active in one tooltip, and it fits at 720p rather than going off the screen. So that will also be going out shortly. Okay, I see you've highlighted some more questions here.
Yeah.
What is a sub-hover? Because the thing is a hover, and then you hover over the hover and you get another hover. So you have a sub-hover. It's a hover on a hover. It's like, yo, dog, I heard you liked hovers. Often a little bit kind of a pain in the butt, because you hover something and then if you move your mouse the wrong direction, you lose the hover. So you have to be careful with that, to not do it in a way that is obnoxious. But I think we did okay on that. Anyway, next question. This one here is from GeekDroid42. When will characters from Greengrass be allocated to a different event?
Yeah, so this is similar to a question I answered earlier, but I just wanted to reiterate. So the champions from Greengrass will be moved to about 4 or 5 different events, but that won't happen until next year. So there'll be some events this year, like the next event in May and in June, that next year they'll have some Greengrass champions in them, but this year they will not. So the Greengrass champions will stay in Greengrass in 2024, and then we'll move in 2025. And hopefully we won't accidentally move them earlier.
The clues from today's giveaway will be different types of hovering. Yes. I do hope they come up with a clever hover name. And not just Dev 120.
Oh, a clever code.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Next question is from Aurora Eon. Not that there's any direct correlation between the two, but with the release of the new patron, I'd love a new 5th Split the Party to run all 5 patron groups simultaneously. Has the team given any thought to enabling a 5th party?
Yeah, I think we thought about that around the 5th patron, but we wanted to make sure that the... Sorry, I was just watching the chat there.
Chat Lauren's
no
like,
we wanted to make sure that we weren't going to cause any performance issues, and there's a lot of, the game currently does have some performance issues on some platforms, and so we didn't want to throw a 5th party in there until we'd kind of had some time to look at those.
Yeah,
and we're still working on a bunch of...
Jarrett's been hard at work on that.
Yeah.
And he's been comparing a couple of different builds, and we've seen probably about like a 10 to 15% improvement and a big change in sort of the 1% lows. Mm-hmm. So he's pretty happy with the sort of the improvements he's made there.
So we're working on that, and I guess once that stuff gets out and we've kind of confirmed that people on like iOS and PlayStation
yes.
aren't having the game crash on them every 5 minutes, we'll get that fixed up.
And actually,
maybe we can think about a 5th patron.
Funny enough, the frame rate that Jarrett was getting was around 120. So,
all right, well,
it
was a joke. Okay, I mean, I'm sure you can get.
I think the actual base game is locked at 60 unless you go in and edit the settings. But anyway,
sneaky. You don't really. I mean, just like nobody needs more than 640 kilobytes of memory. Nobody needs more than 60 frames of play per second.
I mean, you're just wasting CPU cycles running idle champions at 120. But anyway. Next question. This is from Garwar. Can we get a clear indicator on Penelope showing her item contribution to the Chewinga Mask tools for the job to clearly see if it is pre or post stack? Currently, her upgrades don't even correctly show up either in the formation buffs tab.
Yeah, I'm going to highlight this one and take this one to the dev team tomorrow and see if we can clean up that description. I know Chewinga Mask is like it's a bit of a complicated ability. It's kind of two abilities in one. It's a little bit of something we maybe could have cleaned up in the rework, but we were already changing a bunch of other things, so we didn't want to touch it too much. But it's definitely, I think, something where some clarity could be given there. I know it did get flagged during Mars's power testing, but we just didn't get around to trying to clean it up. So we'll take another stab at that, I think, or at least we'll put it on the list.
All right. Next question. This is from Rough Rider 1995. If Thalora gets her first kill on a boss level, should that initiate her rush?
So, looking at the design, I pulled up the design because I wasn't 100% sure how that was worded in the design doc, at least. I'm not sure exactly what it says in the game. But I mean, I don't see any reason it shouldn't. It's just based off of, or it should just be based off of Thalora's first kill. It's possible that between this design and the implementation, there was a clarification that happened that just didn't get copied back to this. But I don't see any like design reason why it wouldn't. I mean, it's pretty tough to like get that to work, but it could. I mean,
the question in the chat is, does it not? Was this a trick question, Justin? They wanted to see if you actually knew how it ran in the game.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Next question then. This is from OG17 asking, why does Elminster exclude the characters reworked in Seasons? They're well within the time frame, so it feels very arbitrary, especially when their recent reworks make them unlikely to be selected for event reworks. And many of these characters would appreciate the reason to see post-season use.
Yeah, so there were a couple of reasons why we excluded them. I guess one of them,
like them?
I just don't like them. Yeah, it's like I've reworked them and now I'm like, oh, I'm over them. No, it's the main reason was we didn't want Elminster to kind of start out with like 70 champions available for them and then trend down towards 48, which is kind of the number that he will eventually trend towards once we get through a couple of years of Events 2.0. So that's kind of the main, I guess the largest proportion of reason. We wanted him to be, pretty challenging to use, and so keeping the number of champions available for him lower was a bit of a priority there. So yeah. No, it's 72, not 48. I was thinking 2 years for some reason. So it'll trend down to 72. I think it would have started quite a bit higher if we'd included. Well, actually, I'm not sure about that.
Are you doing math on stream again, Justin?
I'm trying to do math on stream. I shouldn't be doing this. But I know the reason was around sort of how the number would trend up and down and how it would go. And just for clarity's sake as well. I think maybe part of it was for clarity's sake as well, is like we didn't want to include just any reworks. Like if we reworked a champion outside of events, we didn't necessarily want to include that one. We just wanted to kind of, I don't know. I know I wrote it down somewhere. Why don't I find it and see if I can find my explanation. We'll do that while I'm trying to answer this next question as well.
Okay. What do we have here? Next question, also from OG17. Is the new perfectly eventful blessings 100% for each active event buff/boon intended to need the event character in formation or just have the buff unlocked in the event icon? And swings of this blessing will be a recurring issue for non-scripting farming. Seems best to spec it out and forever lose a global blessing, 100% collections, in brackets. Could consistent damage be a consideration in blessing/perk design?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Definitely, there is that kind of swing that you'll see. If you're doing events kind of consistently, it won't swing. You'll swing at the start of an event, and then you'll kind of come back up to where you were. Yeah, it's an interesting kind. I guess there aren't a lot of other blessings or that that kind of do that. Generally, they just kind of start and go up. They kind of have a consistency to them.
Now, was the question there, the first part of that question, did you answer that in terms of they have to be active to be counting for the blessing?
I did not answer that. I don't believe they have to be in the party. I think it counts as active if you've kind of unlocked it.
Yeah, we did add a count to that on that display, which will be part of that next update,
right?
To show how many you have unlocked or how many you've activated.
Mm-hmm. There's kind of a weird inconsistency there between they're active, but they're not
active
applying if they're not in the party. But they're an active buff. We've confirmed that they don't apply if they're not in the party.
Yes, we got that part. I meant the part where that doesn't count towards the...
It counts towards the blessing?
Yes.
I'd have to double check. The intention is that they do.
Yes, because I know that might not be the way it got... Yeah, I'll have to check that because I'm looking at the UI that Alex is putting together for that.
Yeah.
I know it was showing the number of active ones you had out of the total number possible.
Mm-hmm.
So...
All right, I've looked up my my Elminster stuff here, and so we had three kind of options we were looking at. This is a little bit of peeking behind the curtain here. So we had three options we were looking at with Elminster. Champion must have been released in the last 3 years, so not including evergreens, but not counting any reworks, which would have started you at about 54 champions for Elminster and reduced down to. Probably roughly about 39, assuming we do one evergreen a year, about 39 after 3 years in Events 2.0, because it only count new champions, which would have been a pretty low number of champions. It also would have started higher and been reduced down. The other option we were looking at was champion was released or reworked in the last 3 years, including evergreens, and it would have also included season champions without that caveat that we ended up putting in. That would have started out at around 89 champions, and decreased down to 72 plus, maybe 75 or so, once we're 3 years into Events 2.0. And then the one we decided to do was champion must have been released or reworked in an event in the last 3 years, including evergreens, which starts out at around 54 champions and increases up to that 72 to 75. And the reason I have here in my little note, we like this option more because it's more static. It doesn't vary quite as much, and it won't get. The most important thing here, I think, is it won't get harder over time, or at least the number of champions won't decrease over time. The number of champions available for Elminster will actually go up until we are up to 3 years into Events 2.0. So it'll actually kind of get easier over time, which I think we liked better than sort of now is the easiest it will ever be, or now is the biggest collection of champions you'll ever get, and it will be going down. So I think that's the main reason why we decided to go in this direction. It kind of looks like there's some sort of giveaway going on. Chat has just scrolled off without me. So is that happening?
Yes, it looks like it is happening.
Okay, so yes, there it is there in chat. Or in our doc here. I see it here now. So yeah, if you haven't seen what's happening in chat, there's a bunch of people saying hashtag hover insights, and that's because if you say that, you will be entered into a draw to win 42 chests of your choice. It can be any type of chest that exists in the game. You get to pick it if you win. So you could pick if you wanted Gale chests right away to get a whole bunch of Gale chests. You could even, I guess, ask for Elminster patron chests if you wanted those right away, a whole bunch of those. You could ask for Modron component chests if you're looking for that one last cross piece that you really, really need. Or, I mean, what other types of things could there be?
I don't know. Maybe there's a Type A, Type C, Micro, Lightning, Thunderbolt, HDMI, RCA. We have an XLR chest.
USB connections, cables.
Yeah, Ethernet chest.
types of cables.
Close. We're going for close. How about a mini display port? DVI, VGA,
connections, connectors,
and HDMI
ports, connection cable. I think we're looking more specific.
We're going for computer ports.
Ports
on the back of your computer.
I mean, I think all these people get that. All right. That wasn't our strongest one.
That was an easy one.
That was an easy, much like today's connections.
That's
Pretty
true.
easy.
That
Day
took
and
me
yesterday,
like 30
very
seconds
easy.
today. That was a freebie.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, where were we?
Where indeed
Where
were
are
we?
we?
I think we were down here.
What are we doing? Who are we talking to? Where am I?
Who, what, when, why?
Okay, next question. This is from Joranathos. I've witnessed Sini's conscientious. Is that what it says? Am I reading this wrong? Well, they're making an effort. We're making an effort to make
Conscientious?
yeah, I'm sure I can't say that. To make Idle Champions friendlier to new players. Will you consider updating the localization to include the slot number after a champion's name in the patron tasks?
Yes, I would consider that kind of thing. A little bit. There's a couple of factors that go into that, but for the most part, the general idea of it, I don't mind. Having that be a little bit more obvious where those champions are. One thing we are planning, I mentioned a little bit earlier in the stream that, kind of after the first Events 2.0 event went out last month, I kind of took some time to think about where Idle Champions, what kind of features and things we're going to be adding to it in the next 6 to 12 to 18 months. And one of the things very high at the very top of that list, which is up here, was, it's a tall list, was a rework to the champion profile dialogue, the dialogue that comes up when you click on a champion on your bench. And part of that rework was something we've kind of talked about on here, was sort of the ability to search and filter and find champions in specific seats or with specific names or specific tags or affiliations or alignments or whatnot. And that is something that I think could help out with this without requiring us to retranslate a bunch of stuff, which especially when we're looking at just adding the seat number after the champion's name wherever it occurs, could start to get fairly expensive and time consuming to do. So I think I would probably say to this one that I would hope that our planned changes and improvements to the champion profile dialogue will make it easier to find champions for patron tasks and whatnot like that, rather than relocalizing those challenge name or descriptions.
Yeah. Alrighty, what's next?
Next question here is from the Lurking Writer.
Oh, you're gonna drop this one on me.
Throw this one on you. You highlighted
What did
it.
you say? You almost said there?
The Lurking Writer asks, can you speak more on how you co-founded Codename together? We don't hear enough stories of your early days.
That's true.
We usually tell this story every year in the Extra Life Founders Q&A.
It does seem like it's I mean, we can give a sort of a brief overview
here. We can,
and save the details, of course, for Extra Life.
Yes. Keep it brief.
Yeah, we got lots of questions to get to. Sort of one of these things where the story changes over time. No, I mean, it gets more concise. It's been 15 years now, and that's the problem. Every year it adds additional.
It adds one extra year to the story of Codename.
Let's see. I mean, Justin and I started with a game.
We were in grade 1.
Yeah, well, okay, there's that. Let's not start that far back.
Excuse me.
The first game that we actually launched was a Facebook game called Egg Breaker. And the reason that we ended up actually launching that is because both of us had been working at our respective degrees at the time. And I'd been doing some contract work off the side of my desk and part of that had been for a company locally here who had done some Facebook games, and they'd had a significant amount of success. And sort of knowing that, we'd come up with an idea together to make something that was fairly simple and straightforward. I think the games they'd been making were sort of like lottery-style games. They were scratch tickets and slot machines and that sort of thing. And I think Justin had said something like absurd and silly at the time we were talking about. Why don't you just make a game where you have an egg and you smash it open with a hammer and there's a prize in it? And I was like, well, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. And so we did. And that was our first game. And it was actually an enormous success on Facebook. And that sort of launched us into being able to open an office and start a company and hire more people. And that led into games like Bushwhacker, which was our Legend of Zelda style game with the same theme. Instead of whacking eggs, you smash bushes
You-
with a sword.
Instead of smashing eggs, you
Yes,
whacked
you
bushes.
whack bushes with a
Yes.
sword, which then also brought you prizes. And that to this day, we are still running Bushwhacker 2.
Yeah. Yeah, you can
which
go
is
play it.
enormous. I don't know how much content is in
Oh
that
my
game.
god, well, like 10, 11 years of content. I think we're in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
11th year of stuff with that game,
Yeah.
at least, maybe
So-
12. Yeah. Yeah, that game, I every once in a while I'll start replaying the game, and like I only end up getting like 25% of the way through before I'm like, I've
It's
run
huge.
out of like, yeah.
But
It-
yeah,
it
if you like
takes,
that sort of game, you should go say hi to Nick, who's still running it over.
Nick
And-
does a stream on this channel every week for
That's
the
true.
Bushwhacker 2 players.
Yeah, and then I guess from there we went to
Crusaders?
Mystic Guardians,
Oh,
which
Mystic
is our
Guardians.
pet
Oh,
battler,
yeah,
and
no.
then Crusaders,
Mystic Guardians was before Bushwhacker
Yeah.
2, but yeah.
which was the follow-up game to this, and then Idle Champions, and we've been running Idle Champions for
7 years?
7, going on 8, right? Isn't it 8 at September?
It'll be
around
8 at
7.5.
the end of this year,
Yeah.
yeah. Or in September, yeah. Or we'll start the 8th year.
Anyway, that's the abridged version.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can be asked and tell a better story. Come
Yeah,
Extra
come
Life.
back in Extra Life. We usually do like a founders Q&A in Extra Life that it's kind of like this. Like in fact, we
exactly like
did
this.
this setup, I
Yep.
think specifically, and then we started doing it for Dev Insights as well. But we try to answer more of those kind of like, hey, who are you two people, and why do we care what you're having to say?
and-
Yeah.
right.
So
Which of course
I
is
always enjoy that as well.
likely to be November this year.
Yes,
Yes, it is this year.
it's
Yeah.
going to be November this year.
Okay.
Spoiler alert! I don't think we actually told everyone who works here. That
I said
yet.
it was likely to be November.
Okay.
Okay, next question. Let's see. This is from Randram. I'm asking a cheeky question, I think, here. Does in the next hour still apply, as Justin claimed, even though the start of the episode was 4 minutes past the hour?
No, because is Sean out today? Is he around?
Yeah, Sean's out today.
Yeah, so there might not be a New Game Plus after us. Normally there is, so we have to like disappear really fast, or else he gets mad at us. But
That still doesn't mean we're running past the hour.
that's true.
All right. Next question. This is from OG17, asking, could expired fire breath potions be removed from the Modron potion automation dialog? You never want to automate them. They're just taking up space and inviting accidental use. And in brackets, they've written cold, dead hands. The main potion manager already leaves them out. Does it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
expired
potion,
ones.
the dialogue. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm thinking from the inventory. It's
No,
still
the
in
inventory
yeah.
you can go accidentally use them. But we should probably have like a confirmation on there, like, are you sure you want to use this? You haven't been able to get this in the game for 6.5 years. Are you sure?
Yes.
Um,
We really should have had those actually over time just go bad.
Just
Well, they're
actually-
expired, right? Like, don't drink those.
Yeah, no,
Like,
don't drink those potions.
Really,
They're-
some serious indigestion from that.
yeah. This is an interesting question. I don't know that I've ever actually considered this.
You know, that actually just raised an interesting question to me. We don't have a concept in the game of like you, the player. So when you use a potion, like how
No,
does this
don't think
work?
about
How
it.
does
Don't
this
think
work?
about it.
Like, are you like splitting it among your party? Like
You-
each of them get to drink a
You
little
just-
bit of it, or
It's like when like you win like the NASCAR or whatever. You shake it up and then you just spray it all over.
okay, that didn't go where I thought it would go, but
You didn't think it would go there?
I actually didn't know where it was going. But don't drink the potions.
Yeah. I don't know what would.
Potions of
them from
champagne
the-
confirmed.
I'll have to think about this one. I'll highlight it so that we can think about it between now and tomorrow when we have our debrief meeting with the dev team.
I kind of wonder how many people have expired fire breath potions still saved up.
Yeah, well, I mean, like OG says, we'll take them from his cold, dead hands. So, yeah.
Okay. Next question. This is from Phoenixian Ultimatum. there are many things the community is commonly / repeatedly asking for. More control over the nerds RNG, Interact alt accessibility fix, 9-jump briv feat, etc. that we often hear something akin to, we don't think it's worth the dev time to invest for the number of people that it would affect. Affect. Yes. Is there any way that the community could make these features / asks happen? And the bracket is maybe funded during a stream or a milestone we need to hit in some event, etc.
That's an interesting idea to try and make it like maybe do it like during Extra Life and be like, all right, we'll have like a charity stream, and if you hit these guidelines, we'll finally do it. But no, I mean, I guess so. I think that the premise here is not quite right. I think for like these particular ones at least, I don't think the reason that we haven't done them yet is because we don't think it'd be worth the dev time. Some of them, the amount of dev time required on them varies, but for the most part, none of these are like massive asks that would take a week of dev time or anything like that. I think they're more just we've got a bunch of stuff on the priority list and they're a little bit lower, and they're all things that we want to get to eventually. But I do kind of like the idea of doing them, doing like doing a stream during Extra Life, and raising a bit of money for BC Children's Hospital to
make a donation of X size and get a feature.
We'll see how many of them are still not done when we get to our next Extra Life.
That feels like a real perverse incentive on our part.
I'll do them for the children.
Okay. Next question. This is from Governor Explosion.
I don't want that person running my government.
And they would like to know, can we get a full wallpaper? Wow, I'm not doing well with words today. I don't know what a wallpaper is, but anyway. Can I get a full wallpaper of the Baldur's Gate 3 hero group shot? I love it.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. But are we done with all the Baldur's Gate 3 champions? What if there are more?
I can't say anything. I don't know. All right. Next question. Also, is that like a confirmation? Will we give them a...
I don't know. I'll highlight this.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, next question. This one is from Billiam Smith 84. Why do you repeatedly neglect...
Sorry, I was just laughing at another question.
Okay.
People are getting silly.
I can see that. Next question. All right, yes, this question from Billiam Smith 84. Why do you repeatedly neglect champions with only 2 or 3 functional feats, not stat, in favor of champions who may have 6 or 7? When are you going to give the neglected champions the love they deserve?
Those poor neglected champions with only 2 or 3 feet. So I guess the answer to this is we don't generally look at champion reworks based off of the number of feats that they have. So we're not intentionally neglecting these poor little champions.
You're discriminating on them based on their feats.
We're not even looking at their feats. Generally, the thing we look at when we decide whether or not to do a rework is usage numbers, sort of what percentage of people who have unlocked that champion are actively using it. That's kind of
But this is a self-fulfilling prophecy, Justin. If they've got 6 or 7 feats, then they're going to get more usage.
Exactly, and then they won't be low on the thing. And then the champions who only have 2 or 3 feats will be lower on the list and will eventually get their reworks.
I see.
So yeah, that's generally what we're looking at when we're looking at who could.
So you're not reworking
rework.
the ones that people are using.
Generally, we don't look at champions that have high usage and be like, people really love those champions. We should totally change their kits.
I had it wrong this whole time. I thought that's what you were doing.
Yeah. I guess players, if you want a champion to get reworked, just stop using them. And then we'll see the usage go to 0 and we'll be like, we got to do something about that. So I wouldn't say that we look at the number of feats before we rework a champion. We do, after we rework a champion, or while we're reworking a champion, do a very thorough pass on the feats and make sure that we've got all of our angles covered there. Usually we're able to find a bunch to add in, and in some cases we're able to even find a bunch of extra ones that would be fun to add in later that we can do through emergences or DLC or quarterly celebrations or things like that. So yeah, I think that answers that.
Okie dokie. Next question. This one is from Pie Lovin'. It was a good name.
I love pie.
Can't argue with that. Is there any chance at re-reviewing Strongheart as a newer player who started mid-season 6, who spent real money on him due to the massive, likely 100+ hours saved on the season pass? The only reason my account was able to progress to what I have now, and the game, I'm not reading this in the right sentence carve up here. Let's see. As a newer player who started mid-season 6, who spent real money on him due to the massive, likely 100+ hours saved on the season pass. The only reason my account was able to progress to what I have now, as the game does not tend to have fun snowball points. It is extremely disappointing to see him now offer 1 extra gold and 2 silver chests per event, so roughly once a month.
Yeah, so is there a chance of re-reviewing him? I do think so. With all of the kind of champions that have a mechanic where they drop extra stuff, we did want to err on the side of not going too ham right out of the gate. So it's possible that we could look at those numbers and adjust some of them. But I do think that he still has some pretty good stuff in him, like the one that uses that buffs based on your number of event buffs and boons, I think is still pretty good. So I think even though he doesn't have a mechanic that kind of speeds up your progress anymore, which is what players were kind of using him for during seasons, I do think he still has a spot in a lot of formations. So I think we're probably just going to kind of watch his usage over time, and if we see him drop off, then we can take another look at him. And if we see him still getting some usage, then we'll probably just leave him be. But we are going to watch that, because, like I say, we started off erring on the side of caution. The next question here is from Dice42.
This is the cheeky one you were laughing
This is the cheeky one
about.
I was laughing at. Who says, did you hear the rumor that fixing Narak's Ultimate resolves audio issues on stream? Is that
a rumor going around?
Is
that that could be true?
I haven't heard that rumor until now. Now I've heard it.
Definitely.
I'm going to spread that around, but we'll see.
Yeah, it seems easy enough to test. We could fix the Narak's Ult and then see if the audio issues resolve.
We could.
But I have a feeling they're not related.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. We'll probably have time for 1 or 2 more questions. This one here is from Rough Rider 1995, asking, when will Freely get some attention to background adventure tales stack?
Adventurous Tales stacks. Yeah, so there was another question I saw here earlier that I think I didn't highlight, or maybe it was from last week's that we'd highlighted, where someone was also asking about Jang Sao's star stacks in background progress and whatnot.
Sorry, just comments. We haven't heard the rumor because of the audio issues.
So this is one of those issues where we've tried to reproduce it, and my understanding is that every time we try to reproduce it internally, it works properly for us.
I think so, yeah.
Which is the worst issues to debug. Like the hardest issues to fix are ones that are not super consistent. Super consistent issues from a development side, super easy to fix, because you can trace the code through one line at a time if you need to figure out exactly what's going on. When issues like this one and with the Jang Sao one doesn't happen consistently for us, you need to be breakpointing and then try, and then if it doesn't happen that time, you need to restart, find a new setup, breakpoint again, and then when it does happen, if you weren't breakpointing, you might miss it, and you're not able to go in and figure out what was going on at the moment.
Yeah, it's one of those things where actually often we end up resorting to like logging things. and then comparing the logs to see what's different in the one where it worked and where it didn't, because it just ends up being too infrequent. Like, you can take the approach that sort of Justin's describing, but often that is extremely time consuming, and then it doesn't happen, you don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it is certainly tricky when it works it works when being tested. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm seeing some of the comments here, like every time feeling as a background zone.
I mean, if it's happening for you guys every time, like, I mean, we can ask you to open a ticket. When you open a ticket, it does make a flash copy of your. Does it make just your active party, or does it copy all your parties? I'm not sure.
I thought it makes a complete snapshot of your account,
so that we can load it up and see if we can reproduce it there. Yeah. I'm not sure. I think we've asked for that before. I'm not sure if we've had any luck with it. But
sounds like By the Jet Rough Rider just sent a ticket.
Yeah.
Snapshot received.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
What time is it?
2:59.
Well.
We are out of time.
Yes. If we didn't get to your question this week, don't worry. You'll have another opportunity. We will be live again this time next week.
We should be.
Yes. Next week we will be live.
Should be.
Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. This week it was Mars and special guest mod Lauren, or Obo Lauren. And they're the folks who copy your questions into our questions doc and make things awesome in chat. So thanks to both of you.
Yeah, and of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and for enjoying the game. Because without you, no one here gets to do what we do.
And we like what we do.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone. Or day. I don't know if it's afternoon for everyone.
It is afternoon, yes.
But for everyone else. All right. It was a tough picking this week going for... nevertheless, did you hear about the aquatic mammals at the zoo that escaped?
No, I didn't.
It was otter chaos.